Welcome to Just Talking About Jesus. I'm Jan Johnson, a seasoned believer who loves relationships and, just talking about Jesus. Here you'll hear inspiring stories from a woman who went from using meth to starting a ministry in Kenya, or the man who had a life-changing encounter with someone in Home Depot, of all places, or a woman who has endured years of chronic pain after having her gallbladder, spleen, and pancreas removed. Every conversation goes deep into how God has changed lives and brought us to a place of surrender, sharing joys, sorrows, and just life in general. We don't have to go it alone because we can go hand in hand with Jesus on our journey. Jesus desires a relationship with us, with you. He wants to know us intimately. Revelations 12:11 says, "And they overcame him by the blood of the Lamb and by the word of their testimony." That's what I'm talking about. The word of our testimony. Just talking about Jesus. Join us each week. Welcome, friends. I have the pleasure of interviewing Ashley Davis today. She's a woman whose childhood was marked by domestic violence, abandonment, addiction, and trauma. Ashley takes us on a raw and redemptive journey from growing up in Washington State, finding faith through godly young men in Seaside, Oregon, to becoming a devout wife, mother, children's ministry leader, and missionary to Kenya, Africa. Ashley shares how God drew her to himself even before she knew him, how he transformed her marriage, how he gave her a heart for the nations, fulfilling a dream she dared to hold as a teenage girl. If you've ever felt forgotten, broken, or unworthy of love, this episode is for you.
I came and I found the wrong crowds. So I was about 15, started school about 10th grade, I think. And immediately found meth. Well, I'd had a problem with that too earlier on, a little bit, but now it was a different crowd that was more enthralled in that. And so that became my life for about a year. And so this is where God came in.
Welcome, everyone, to this episode. I have Ashley Davis with me today. Welcome, Ashley.
Thank you for having me.
Ashley's going to share about her testimony, but also just the amazing things God is doing with her now that she's not in the place that she was earlier on in her life. So, goodness sakes, because you are a different person than you were many years ago, right?
Yes, I definitely don't look the same. Well, inside and
Inside and
out.
out.
Yeah.
Tell us a little bit about your story.
So I grew up in Washington State. My mom suffered from drugs and drinking and picking all the wrong men. And I was about 4, and she married finally. Things right off first glance, they looked okay. Within no time, it became pretty clear that he was very abusive, was an abusive person. And so it was hard because from my age of 4 until my age of 10, they all partake in lots of parties, lots of drinking. That immediately came right in. And selling drugs was really big for him. That was kind of his thing. And then physical abuse. So I was young, but when you grow up in that type of environment, you tend to become alert. And I just remember those days very vividly, just very vividly, the feelings and emotions and the things I saw. But he was so abusive that he would break her, parts of her. And it's really hard to see that. It's hard to go through that. And help as a child, you want someone to help, and they don't. And you're told not to say anything, and you're so scared because you also get beat. And it was just really scary. There was just so much fear. There was always so much fear, and I always would get so angry at the family. Like, you can see my mom is black and blue, and she's in the hospital, or she, can't walk, or she can't talk because he broke her jaw, or whatever it was. Like, how can no one do anything? No one did anything. So I was very upset about that, hurt and scared and all the things. So anyhow, when I turned 10, she had enough and she left him. And at that time I had two little brothers, and one was 1 and one was 5. And so I was definitely very nurturing to them, trying to keep them safe all the time. But she had enough. And so we went to live with my grandma, and she just bolted. I mean, she had freedom, and she took it. And so my grandma worked at Boeing, and I was very close to my grandma. She was my person. We were still very connected. I couldn't do life without her, I don't think. She's still with us, but I always had great memories with her and everything, but she was still working and she couldn't take care of us. And so I took care of the kids, and it was okay for a while, but it was hard. Finally, their dad actually cleaned up his act, and he got an apartment and he got clean and sober, and I never saw him that way, and I told him I was happy for him, but he asked, "Do you wanna live with me?" And I said, "Absolutely not." And he's like, "Well, I can't force you to." And I said, "I can't. I'm sorry, I just can't. Thank you for offering, but I didn't even want my brothers to be with him." But anyhow, he took the boys, and then I became alone. And so from the time it was about 11 at that point until 15-ish, oh boy, I was rebellious, and I had freedom because my mom was nowhere to be seen and my grandma was working. And so I didn't always go to school, and I started not making good decisions, and I was doing a lot of things, and a lot of things were happening to me because I was putting myself in these predicaments, and they were horrible things, and they were happening to me, and I just felt like I couldn't get anything out of life that I really wanted or needed. And then there were a few times where I definitely wasn't gonna go back to my grandma's because, she wants me to be on the straight and narrow, but then she's also not home because she works second shift. Anyhow, it was a time where as I got a little older, like 13, 14, 15, I had also gotten pregnant, and that was very traumatic for me because it was something that was mine, and it was obviously not a good thing at that age, okay? I would think I was about 14, but it was mine, it was something positive, and my grandma put a stop to that, and that was a horrible experience. I was too far along, and it was like this alley back place on back highway. It was absolutely horrible. And I really I just know that I'm gonna see that child someday, and it's gonna be good. It's gonna be
Yeah.
good. I know that the Lord is taking care of my child, so that's good. But, I I asked my mom if I could live with her multiple times over those years, wherever she was at someone's house, and she always said, "No, sorry, honey, I don't have room for you because I don't even have a place to live." And there was one time she did have a place, and there was a really nice room because she was living with these older people. She was trying to get clean, and she had one sister. She had another child, and she told me no. And I just always remember just feeling so alone and abandoned. But
Abandoned.
there was times where I would just sleep at my friends' houses. I would just move all around, wherever I could. I guess it was self-inflicted because I could have went back to my grandma's, but I didn't feel like I could. And I was doing drugs, and I was drinking, and I was having sex, and I was doing things, like I said, shouldn't do. So my grandma got a hold of me one day and said, "I'm moving to Seaside, Oregon." And so she'd had a beach house my whole life in Seaside. So that was our retreat. That's our retreat. It was our special place, and since I was born. So I said, "Okay, good. I need a new start. I'm gonna start over." Well, it didn't work, and I broke her heart because she really wanted me to be with her. I came and I found the wrong crowds. So I was about 15, started school about 10th grade, I think. And yeah, immediately found meth. Well, I'd had a problem with that too earlier on, a little bit, but now it was a different crowd that was more enthralled in that. And so that became my life for about a year. And so this is where God came in. This is where he told me I needed to change my path, which I think is so amazing because I'm not deserving of it. I'm not deserving of it. But throughout that part of my life where I was a child and then I was about 16, from those years, there were people we didn't go to church, as you can imagine. And my mom would get drunk and say, "Jesus loves you," and so that's all I kinda knew, but there were some people, my friends' parents, some occasionally would talk about Jesus, and there was one in particular, I'll bring that up later because 'cause it'll tie in the missionary part, but God God allowed me to know that he was real, and there was something about him that I knew was real, and of course, I how could I believe that with the life that I was living, but there was something I just knew, I didn't question it, it was just real, but I just had no idea about it. I did not know him, I had no idea how to know him, of course, and so I went to work at this temporary agency in Seaside, and I met my husband, and he gave me a ride home, and he was so nice, he was so good. He didn't do drugs, and he had been living in the same home his whole life, had gone to church and had this great job, was a good person, good person through and through. And I could see that. And he was really interested in me, and I didn't know why. I really didn't. I just thought, "Oh, man, if you only knew, I could never tell you the truth. I'm a mess, I'm a wretched person. You would never wanna be with me." But he didn't give up. He just kept wanting to be my friend and just wanting to, talk and hang out, and so finally, he made it very clear he wanted to have a relationship with me, and I'm like, no, absolutely not," and he would meet me in these places where I was really high, and he'd wanna, take me away from it and take a drive or something, which I think in his way was getting me out of there, but I would feel so bad because I was high, and I didn't wanna be, and it was like, I just knew all of a sudden there was, he wanted to have a relationship, and I knew that I obviously couldn't be doing this with a relationship, but he also had, this normal life and church, and I just could see a clear path. He sees through this, he likes me for me, I tell him about myself, and he accepts me for who I am, and it doesn't scare him away, and he wants to bring me home and meet his parents, which obviously has never happened to me, and I would never think that that could happen, and then I would look at these friends, and I would look at the drugs, and it was controlling me. I couldn't stop. So I tried to stop, and I tried to stop because I thought this was I think there's a light on this path. There's a light, a path I need to follow, and this is gonna be good. And if I follow this one, I just felt like it would be dark and it would be bad, and I just knew I'd probably end up like my mom and worse. I just could see it. This is where my life changed, and I was 17 at the time, and I could see Mike, and I could see the drugs in this house, and I just made a decision, and he helped me, and it was hard, but he helped me, and I got clean, and we just things started moving along so fast. I wanted to go to church. He, at the time, wasn't going to church because, you're 18 and you decide, "Oh, I don't have to go." And I said, "Well, I wanna go, so you need to take me." I just had to go to church. I don't know what I just had to go. Never really gone, but I had to go. And I wanted it so much. I wanted it, and I met his parents and his church, and it was in Warrenton First Baptist. And anyhow, so I was 17 and we moved very quickly. I originally said, "We're not. Let's take it slow. I want to learn about God and but it ended up being a little quick. Within about 6 months total, we were married and we were pregnant. So it went by awfully quick. But that's where God started transforming my life was when I decided that when he showed me I had a and he has shown me ever since what he's wanted in my life. I had little sisters at that time. I was pregnant. My mom she moved up to Oregon, here down to Oregon with her husband at the time. She remarried and they were drug addicts. It was horrible. They had two little girls, a 1 and a 2-year-old, and they were in the mix of it and it was horrible. She moved into our 1-bedroom apartment because they had nowhere to go. And I felt like I had had a lot of life by then. I know that sounds interesting, but I thought I did, and I felt like it was time to settle down. I did. I was ready to be a wife and a mom and make something whatever God would want me to do. I wanted to be just faithful to my family and to him. And so we had partial custody of the girls. Parents had gone to jail, and then I had my son, Michael, and they were still with me for a while. And then finally the court said, well, you're only 18, because I turned 18. And they said, you're too young and you have a baby and you're just married. And even though we were doing it just fine, we figured it out. We had these 3 little babies, and Mike and I figured it out just fine. God was amazing at just really allowing us to have that time with them. And it was really hard though. I had to give them up to foster care. It was really hard. But yeah, it's just moving forward from the time I was 18 until now. It's been 25 years of marriage. We just celebrated, and we have 4 children and 1 grandchild. And he's given me a heart for the children's ministry. And so about the missions is when I was 14, and I had the time when I had gotten pregnant, I lived with this friend of mine, and her parents were Christians. Boy, she hated it. But oh man, I would just love it. I loved it. It was a good home. They were good people. And I felt wrong being there in their home. But God, they loved me. They knew that I had done things, and that I already had probably not a good influence, although I always said I was a good person. But they took me in, and they loved on me for a while, and they had missionaries come stay at their house for like a week, and then they had other missionaries when I wasn't there, and they had talked about it, and the light in their eyes, the love for Jesus was so rich and full and beautiful, and I just wanted that. I wanted to meet missionaries. I wanted to be around them. I wanted to be a missionary. It's all I could think of. I was like, "Oh, I wanna be a missionary, and I wanna have them come be with me in my home," and it was a secret goal of mine,
It
and
sounds
so
like there's such I mean, because you had such a contrast between the dark of your life and seeing the light. I mean, that light that these people that God put into your life, you know,
yeah.
and that
Yeah.
draw to that light.
Mhm. And how I believed so easily in God, I really did. I didn't ever question him or wonder why I was going through what I was going through. I never questioned him, because I've heard people that do. I've heard their struggles with that, especially coming to faith, because they have such a hard life and they blame him, or they don't understand why he couldn't have helped. I didn't have that. I didn't. I just believed. I had a sense of peace with him. I just didn't understand it at all. I just had no idea. I don't know why God did that for me. He did, and
But
but I immediately got into children's ministry
yeah,
pretty
because
good,
you were
and
chosen. But I think also that's another thing you're going to find out in heaven is who was praying for you, because somebody's been praying for you all along, that God is taking notice and plucking you
mm,
out because He had a plan
yeah.
for you.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
So yeah, then the missionary stuff, we had prayed about it. I had prayed about it many times and heard lots of them in church over the years and met them, and Mike was really not on board. He wasn't, and we had little kids. We were really, really poor. We didn't have very much. Oh man, it was hard. And so it just was something that I just secretly always loved and admired and just really prayed about. And I just thought I had hope. It was like maybe one day God will allow that to be something that he has me to do. And I was praying that he would change Mike's heart, because I needed Mike to be on board too. And a couple years ago, well, actually right before COVID, Mike and we started our own business, and 2019, and that was God. We knew that was God. There's a whole thing there. God really wanted that to happen, and he made it happen, and it was great. But then he changed our hearts, and Mike started wanting to be a missionary too. He wanted to go. His heart was completely changed, and I was so surprised. And to be honest, it caught me off guard. And he was pushing me in missions, to reach out to Chrissy, and I did, and right there the emails started corresponding, and then everything shut down. And so a couple years later, when we got back to work and things, and we started talking about it again, and we had this feeling of kind of a nudging, like a little urgency almost.
Yeah.
And we both prayed, and Mike had this peace about allowing me to go and not him, that it wasn't time. He really did. And my husband's not really that kind of a man. He's not, and he gets worried about travel, and I would never in a million years think he'd allow me to ever go out of the country without him. That's just not how he feels,
Yeah.
where he feels comfortable. But he was completely comfortable, and it was almost like I didn't recognize him. God had put that on his heart, and he allowed him to take care of the family while I was gone. I mean, he had peace. He said he'd never felt before. God did that, and it was a blessing. But I've gone back 4 times, and he's
Tell
gone
us
with me
about
once.
Yeah, tell us about the actual mission and what, where it's located, what the gist of it is, what you do on your trips.
Yeah. So it's definitely a little bit of a long trip, right? It's Kenya, Africa. Takes a little bit to get there. We used to go in October. The rains would be subsided enough, the weather wouldn't be as hot. But then we did start getting into some rains a little bit, and it became a little dangerous. So we've changed the date here a few times. We've gone like in May and June, so that's about the time frame. It's about once a year is a really good time to go to check on projects that we have there. It has always taken teams, so Christy Christian over there for many, many years, and it's in Nairobi, Kenya is the main city. We fly in there and we're there for a portion of our time, and then we take a plane, an in-country plane to Kisumu and then drive a little ways, a couple hours, and we get to Rockwaro. That's yeah, and
And those great
yeah.
roads.
Yeah, it's bumpy. It's very long and bumpy, but it's beautiful. They have speed bumps, large speed bumps. They don't have police officers just to tell you, "Hey, mind the rules." And they don't have, the resources to have, say, stoplights and or stop signs and lights and signals and those types of things. So they just put speed bumps in the roads. And that makes you slow down because everyone in the car, if you miss one, oof, you almost hit the ceiling and it hurts. So it is wear and tear on your vehicle. So they do go rather slower, but it's a lot of bumps. So yeah, it's Kenya, and then just surround, like, what we do there is we visit the slums in Nairobi. The slums, there is multiple slums, and they're comprised of millions of people, sadly, and really the worst of the worst, but they're surrounded by the city. So if you have ever been in New York and you're in Central Park, if you take a look around, you can see all the city and then you're in the park. Well, it's very similar, just a bigger expanse. But if you're in the slums and you look, you can see the city kind of surrounding. It's very sad, but we visit them multiple times. There's schools there that we do feeding programs. We really enjoy partaking in that. It's really nice to see all the children come, and we like to help feed them, serve them food and read them books. They love dancing for us and singing for us. And then it's usually at a school. So we also like it to see their classrooms, and they love it when we visit their classrooms. And then if you are privileged to have a sponsored child if you're on the mission trip and you have a child that you've sponsored, whether they're in Nairobi or up country, we make it a point to allow you to see them. And we really like it if you can see them in their home, if it's possible. And so if you have children in the slums, we'll try to visit them. And if we can't go to their home because it's dangerous or maybe too far, they'll come to you. They'll come to you. So you'll get to meet them. You can hug them. You can ask them questions. They can ask you questions. It's very sweet. We do the same thing in Rockwaro or the other places that we go. We like to do home visits. It's called home visits, but it may be a sponsored child or their family, or it will be maybe a widow or a single parent, that's taking care of a lot of children, or maybe a home that's in need. So we'll go visit them, give them some encouragement, pray with them, and maybe see what they may need. So that's really nice. And we love doing dental camps. I'm not sure how many years we've been doing those. I just know that my years that I've been there, we've been doing dental camps, and we we'll do an either 2-day camp or 3, or we've done ones where it's multiple 2 different locations, so you'll do a couple days of each.
How many people will go through in a day that you be?
Yeah, the first day, it depends if it's a new area, the first day won't be as much as, like, the second day, but if it's an area where we've been before, then the numbers are pretty good. I would say somewhere around, you know, 5 300 to maybe 500, I guess it depends on where we
In a
are
day?
or well, in a sorry, at the camp. So maybe in a
Yeah.
day, it could be like 200 in a day, maybe. And also it depends on how many volunteers we have. There's times where we'll have more dentists or more so we need dentists and we need dental assistants. And then we also need other people. We need people to clean instruments, do cleanings, which is we'd have them be separate. There's 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 actually a whole array of jobs. So
Yeah.
it depends on how many we can help based off of how many people can come serve that at that particular camp. And we usually have a pretty good turnout. I've been to where we haven't had as many, so obviously we can't help as many, but some we've had a lot of help. We've
Yeah.
had people without jobs, so and we just kind of have people swap out. But so and that one camp that I think it was like 800, but that was a total of 4 4 days, I think. It just
That's
and
still
it depends. It
phenomenal
depends.
amount of
Yeah,
and
it's a lot.
changing their lives. My goodness.
Yes, they are very, very thankful. It's a labor of love, I'm telling you. It's really, really wonderful, and I went there not liking dental per se and not wanting to, you know, see in a mouth or see blood or any of
Yeah.
those things or maybe wanna just I was nervous about that part. The first year, it didn't interest me, so I hung out with the children, and so I had that job. But after I came home and I don't know, something changed in me, and when I told because I was going back the second time, Chrissy said, "Are you sure?" And I'm like, "Absolutely." I had to work with the patient. And
Mhm.
that's what I just knew. I knew it from the moment we arrived that morning till the last. I said, "That's what I'm doing," and I did not move. I just stayed with the patients, and I all of a sudden could handle it. My stomach didn't because that first year, I did come in there, and, they did say, "Hey," like, towards the end, "Hey, why don't you, just try it out a minute?" And I'm like, "Mm, okay," and I was like, "Whoa, no, no, my stomach's doing cartwheels. I don't think this is a good idea." Sorry. And so, yeah, but anyhow, God changed my heart and oh, I love it so much. And I got really good at it. I'm really good at being self-taught. And I just paid attention to what all the instruments were and what the particular dentist liked and the process. And I'm pretty good at it. And I love it. And then I love encouraging.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, these people are afraid. They are so afraid. Sometimes they think we're doing witchcraft. That's one part of it. Sometimes they're in so much pain, and sometimes they don't know what's gonna happen. They're just afraid because they don't understand,
Mm.
and and they don't speak
Right.
even Swahili. They'll speak a mother language, so it's really hard for even our Kenyans
Mhm.
to that we have some that can get through, of course, because some of them kinda interchange, but sometimes it's even hard to connect, but I love putting my hand on holding their hands or putting my hand on their chest. I feel their heart and their heart's racing. I always like to do that. It kind of tells me
Yeah.
how, because I can't read minds. And I love to smile at them because that's one of my things is smiling. If you smile, you could probably get a smile back. And if you can't, oh, I'm determined. I'm determined. I need a smile back, you know? And I just think that that's a good thing. And then I don't have to speak words for that. And so,
Yeah.
but we'll
That's a
try
gift.
to give them some gospel too
Yeah.
while we're there.
That's a
But
So we're
yeah.
almost out of time. Tell me, what would you say, you know, maybe to young people who are in the situation that you were in, what what advice would you give or what advice would you give to those of us who see people or students who are in those situations?
Yeah, I would I would definitely say be careful not to judge people. It's so easy to do that. We look at the outward appearance or or just don't give a chance to some people. You never really know until you get to know someone, and even a young person. You don't really know what they've been through. And I think give people a chance to talk and speak for themselves. And I think if the opportunity perceives itself for you to help someone or just sit and talk with someone or encourage someone, I think you should try to do it. I think it would have been very helpful to me to have someone engage in me and ask if they could help me. I actually never had anybody ever offer to help me. I would have loved that. I would have loved to have had like a foster parent or someone to say, I want to take care of you. I don't know. Like it's interesting to me. So maybe getting to know people is really good. It's really hard. We're busy. We're so busy. People are busy and their attentions go all over the place. But maybe if we take a moment, I believe that a person that's in your life is for a purpose, because there's like millions of people out there and yet there's only certain people that are in your life. It's for a purpose, right? So I think we should try to invest in, if we can, the people that are around us, because I think it's for a purpose
Yeah.
that we don't even know about, and like God knows.
Yeah.
So maybe invest in someone and just listen to them or ask them how they're doing, and actually wait for them to tell you, because there's got to be a lot more than you know.
Right. Right. And
Yeah.
how can people find out more about your mission program?
Helping Hands International. If you go online, it's the one that will say it's from Medford, and you'll go there and it'll talk all about all the stuff that they're doing, all the places they're going around the world, but you'll be able to find the link for Kenya, and you can read all about our trip and what it entails and have contact information so you can get a hold of someone, which would be me or Chrissy, and we can just talk to you and answer questions and see if it's something God's like directing you to do.
Right. And if someone wanted to make donations to the organization or something, would it
Yeah.
use that
Yeah, right
website?
there. Yeah, it'll say donate, and it'll ask you where you wanna donate, and you'll get to choose.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah,
People can get sponsored children through there as well.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, it's so powerful. Oh my goodness. And all of the money, this is such a great organization. I wouldn't be with them if they weren't. All of the money goes to the children, to their education, some clothing, food. Oh, man, and it's like 35 or $38 a month, I believe, $38, and, it's just incredible how
Yeah.
we can really help them
Yeah.
just by doing that, and they can send letters and pictures, and the kids will send them back.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's so wonderful. Look where God took you. Did you ever even have a clue?
No, I'm still excited about what's still to come.
Exactly, exactly,
Yeah,
because this is just like
yeah,
there's so much more, right? So much
mhm,
more, and oh man, so you've been a blessing to so many people and more to come as well, just all the way around. Thank you
yeah,
so much for sharing your story and being vulnerable. I know that's not always easy to do, but
yeah.
but
It's a little
but
nervous.
God be the glory, right?
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, even if it's uncomfortable, I'm hoping, yeah, by hearing it helps someone else.
yeah, okay.
Yeah,
Well, thank you
okay.
so much.
Alright, thank you, Jan. Have a good day.
What I love most about this interview is that Ashley is someone that you, like many people, you see at church or in wherever you are, and you don't really think about what their backgrounds are, what they've gone through, what God's taken them through. And yet, such a powerful story. Just and what a change. You're going from old things in life that you put aside that God has redeemed you from to take her from being an addict and healing her emotional wounds as being abandoned and um, feeling unloved, driving her into doing all kinds of crazy things that she should never have gotten herself into. But it just shows me that we need to be more cognizant of the people around us, especially teenagers, young kids or whatever, if they're going through something or they're acting out, maybe there's a reason for it. And maybe we should listen and see what we can do to be there for them. Not to mention pray for them, of course. I want to leave you with Isaiah 61, 1-3. The Spirit of the Sovereign Lord is on me because the Lord has anointed me to proclaim good news to the poor. He has sent me to bind up the brokenhearted, to proclaim freedom for the captives, to bestow on them a crown of beauty instead of ashes. Ashley is no longer a brokenhearted captive. Now she goes to the broken and the poor. Amazing what God can do. There's links in the show notes about the mission program that she is with. And I'd encourage you to take a look at that because it's pretty cool. My husband and I have a lot of sponsored families through a different organization, but it's literally the same thing. And it does bring us such joy. So until next time, keep talking about Jesus. Do you have a friend or relative that would find value in this episode? Please share it. And you can let them know that if they'd prefer to watch, I always put these episodes on YouTube. So check that out in the show notes. And if you watch on YouTube, consider subscribing because just as when you subscribe to this podcast and get notification when new episodes are out, the same will happen if you subscribe to my YouTube channel. Just Talking About Jesus. And then you won't miss an episode. Speaking of subscribing, are you getting my newsletters? These not only tell the guest stories, but also include pictures and links to the website and YouTube. I also add a little about my life, and who doesn't want to know that?